Yeah, we spoke 2 years ago when Minamino came. It didn't go as great as we hoped. Didn't really think there was going to be another Japanese player 2 years later, but it's happened out of nowhere. Did you know much about him coming through? And when it did happen, what do you think about him?
Yeah, it really came out of the blue, to be honest. I mean, Liverpool's search for a new holding midfielder, I think, had been well documented, and it had been a pretty crazy week in terms of from the previous Friday agreeing a fee with Brighton for Moises Caicedo for a potential British transfer record, £111 million, and the excitement amongst the supporters then. And then, of course, quickly it became clear that Caicedo still had his heart set on joining Chelsea, so that deal didn't happen. Then Liverpool went back to Romeo Lavia of Southampton, who they'd had 3 bids rejected for him earlier on in the window. By that point, Chelsea had managed to convince him to go to Stamford Bridge as well. So it was a bit of a mess, and I think Klopp and the recruitment staff had to get together and kind of come up with a plan. And Wataru Endo was that plan. So I mean, Klopp has been desperate to point out that Endo was on his list,
right?
Throughout the summer. It's just he wasn't at the top of the list. They were pursuing Lavia. I knew the name probably more just from watching Japan in the World Cup and occasional Bundesliga games. Yeah, it was a big surprise to me. But then I think what the more our German expert at the Athletic is Rafa Honigstein, and that he spoke about it, the more it started to make a bit of sense.
I guess I was exactly on the same boat. At the start, probably a bit underwhelmed as a Liverpool fan. But yeah, for me as well, like more and more thought about it, it just kind of made sense. His numbers are pretty impressive in the Bundesliga. As a national captain, Japanese people love him, love his style, love his aggression, the fact that he's fist pumps and he'll chat at the crowd in a good way. I'm sure we'll see that at Anfield sometime. But how do you think the general Liverpool fans have reacted over there?
I think it's been a mixed reaction. I think probably surprise initially. I think it'd be fair to say that some people were underwhelmed just because he isn't that massive global name, and he isn't a big money signing. That's the thing. Lots of people feed off that excitement of spending lots and lots of money, and I felt a bit sorry for him in the context of how it happened, because I think if this had happened a while back, I think it probably would have generated more excitement, but because it was off the back of missing out on Caicedo, missing out on Lavia, it almost had that sense of, is this some kind of consolation prize, which I think is unfair on Endo. So, and I think Klopp kind of picked up on that, because he kind of said himself last week that he said, I know what the football world's like, I know what people will be saying, but he said, I promise you, just give this guy a chance. And certainly, I was at Anfield when he made his debut against Bournemouth, and there's no doubt that everyone inside that ground gave him, a very warm reception and ovation. They chanted his name before the game when he came out to warm up. He got a fantastic ovation when he came out to make his debut off the bench in that second half. So every Liverpool fan that I know desperately wants it to work. I think it just is a bit of a left field solution to a big problem, because he isn't Premier League proven. Liverpool as a club have this strategy of investing in players that are 24 or under. Really rare for them to pay any kind of fee, let alone £16.2 million for someone who's 30. Klopp said that himself. He had to really convince the owners to kind of move away from that strategy. So, and I guess the big unknown is, how will he handle that step up from? I think it's more because obviously the Bundesliga, is not a bad league. It's not like he's coming from a much smaller league, but it's more, I think, the expectation levels of playing for Liverpool, because I think when you play for Stuttgart, the target is survival, and if you get enough points over the course of the season to stay in the Bundesliga, that's success. And now suddenly he finds himself in an environment where there's going to be a hell of a lot more scrutiny. You're playing for a team that's expected to win every week, and when Liverpool go 2, 3, heaven forbid 4 games without winning, it becomes this massive kind of drama and an issue that I don't think he will have quite experienced that kind of pressure cooker before. So that's going to be intriguing for me, how he handles that.
Sort of happened last year when we went on a pretty bad run. I guess we were like 9th, 8th, 10th for a while. locally, yeah, you think there's a lot of pressure on the team when that happens?
Yeah, oh yeah, there is. There's no doubt about that. That will be, I think, a bit of a shock to the system for him, just how much scrutiny there is, and it's difficult to escape, even as a player, moving to a new country and all the rest of it. It's with the 24/7 rolling, sports news channels, and the coverage will be on a whole different level, in terms of his own performances being, scrutinized and picked apart at times. And I had the pleasure of speaking to him after the game against Bournemouth. I think what probably bodes well is he seems incredibly level-headed. Seems to take things in his stride, very humble and down to earth, exactly how Klopp likes his footballers. I think the biggest thing for me is he was just saying, at the age of 30, I thought my dream of playing in the Premier League had gone. He said, I thought that ship had sailed, really. So it's, from his point of view, you'd like to think the mindset will be, just go out and grasp this chance, because I didn't think it was going to happen. A whole list of events have kind of played their part in fate deciding that he was destined for Liverpool, because, if Caicedo had decided he wanted Liverpool and not Chelsea, then Endo would still be at Stuttgart.
True.
But yeah, I mean, and the other thing is Liverpool need this deal to work, because he was a relatively unheralded name, like, outside of probably Japan and outside of Germany, that I think there was almost this feeling amongst lots of Liverpool fans that he was being brought in as a squad player, just to kind of give them a bit more depth. And Liverpool have been at pains to point out since that that's not the case, and he is the holding midfielder. He's not. And they're not going to go and spend loads of money on another number 6 to play in that same position. So that kind of shows you the faith that Klopp has got in him. And I think also, at the age of 30, to give him a 4-year contract, I think says a lot as well, because, I thought, maybe it'll be like a 2-year deal, maybe even a 2-year deal with like the option of a further year if he plays enough games. But to give him a 4-year contract, I think shows that, of course he's not going to be a Liverpool player for 5, 6, 7 years or whatever, but clearly Klopp believes that he can give them something that they haven't got at the moment. And it's going to be exciting to see how he gets on.
Through the years, I've watched him mainly for the national team. I'm pretty confident defensively and physicality. He'll be there, and stamina. He runs hard. My biggest concern will be his passing. 1 touch, 2 touch, left, right, bang, bang, bang. Like, if he slows down, if he takes 3, 4 touches, the rest of the team just won't function. So that's my concern, one. And secondly, possession. Premier League press will be just hounding him, like a pack of wolves. Particularly if I think Man City match, I'm really nervous if he plays. I kind of assume he won't play, and maybe McAllister would be there. But those 2 points will be kind of my concerns. But the hard work, defensive, and he's surprisingly really good in the air. He's a very strong boy. So I think that'd be great. And hopefully he'll be like Mascherano-esque in hard running, hard tackle, screaming at the crowd. And hopefully he'll become a local hero sooner or later.
To be honest, the lack of energy was one of the things that massively hampered them last season, because it was an aging midfield with Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago. So many games, they just got overrun and outworked and outfought. And it was a glaring weak link. And it's no surprise that now, you could have a position now where Liverpool go into a game with a completely new starting midfield. I think with Endo has been brought to start in that number 6 role, probably with McAllister on one side and Szoboszlai on the other. So I think that will help him as well, because McAllister and Szoboszlai, they've had, Endo hasn't had, which is the benefit of a full pre-season under Klopp, to kind of get used to his methods, to get used to exactly how he wants Liverpool to set up. I think that should help him as well, having that kind of athleticism of McAllister and Szoboszlai around him.
Mate, Szoboszlai looks like a good player, huh? He looked brilliant last week. And one thing, how was Endo's English?
Excellent, yes. Much better than my Japanese. He probably spoke for about 5 or 6 minutes with us, and the only slight issue he had was with one of the local reporters with the Scouse accent, and he had to, I think he just had to ask him to repeat the question and say it a little bit slower, because that'll probably be one of the periods of adaptation for him, is Trent Alexander-Arnold and Curtis Jones, probably the 2 most high-profile Scousers in the squad, and
maybe Robertson's Scottish accent.
Yeah, even as someone, I've lived in Liverpool for over 20 years now, and I still sometimes struggle with it. So I'm not surprised that Endo might need a little bit of time to get used to the different accents in the squad. But yeah, in general, his English is excellent, and that'll really help him as well.
For sure, yeah, that'd be great.
Even rewind to Darwin Núñez, who came in a year ago. Klopp has mentioned a few times of how much more difficult that makes it when you can't speak the language. That with Núñez it's slightly different because you've got Spanish and Portuguese speakers in the squad.
Yeah.
But you're still not included in everything when English is still predominantly the language that's spoken, and especially for Klopp. Klopp doesn't speak Spanish or Portuguese, so I think that'll really help him as well. A full week training under his belt this week, a big smile on his face, and it is a very welcoming environment, Liverpool. I know Virgil van Dijk was amongst the first to contact him. Endo was saying that things had happened so fast, his family weren't even at the game at Anfield for his debut. He literally just had to kind of drop everything and get on a plane. So he's had a fair bit on his plate this week, probably looking around for places to live, because initially Liverpool tend to put new players up in a hotel in the city centre, and I'm sure he'll be looking for a base for his family to come over.
Okay, that's it, mate. Thanks so much for your time.
Cool. Cheers, Kenny. Take care. Speak to you soon.
Cheers, mate. You too. Have a good one.
Cheers, mate. Bye.